get through this.
Easy for listening and it's able to do it.
Easy for dancing. I'm not a great lover of cats.
That's my fear.
You're a disgrace, you are.
Not me.
That's my fear.
You're a disgrace, you are.
Hello and welcome to Have Your Say, one-on-one shadowboxing. Today our studios in East Perth. The guest is Robin Chappell from the Greens, WA. Robin, you stay in Parliament in the upper house and you got 3 other members joining to you.
Yep.
And we lost one. So, but anyway, the improvement is 100% growth with the Greens.
Oh, absolutely.
But still not getting there where you've been before.
Look, we have had 5.
Yes.
That was the
And one in the
pinnacle,
lower
and one
house,
in the lower
so
house.
that's 6.
But our percentage vote-wise is about the same, if not slightly better. The vagaries of the election is that we've got a really quite interesting upper house now.
Yes, you got, because you got Pauline Hanson, One Nation.
You've got Pauline Hanson, you've got,
You got the
Shooters and Fishers, you've got the Liberal Democrats,
And you got
Nationals,
the 4, and you're 4 of the Greens.
Greens, yeah.
So you looking forward to that fight in the upper house, or?
Well, I've been there for a long time. I first got elected in 2001, so I've, to a degree, seen it all before. And I don't mean that sort of in some sort of egotistical way, but the upper house, you have to work together.
Yes.
It's a house of review, and so there's a lot of committee work, a lot of reviewing of legislation. It is not a place of political statement to a large degree. It is a workhouse for people to
keep check and balances.
keep check and balances.
However, the party itself, and you got political views and aspirations and some dreams, I hope.
Oh, absolutely.
And your portfolio is coming from your electorate mainly because you are for the pastoral and mining.
Yep, I'll be dealing with local government, ports, environment. So there's been a bit of a change around. Obviously, I don't have...
And it's a big area as well, by land mass.
2.24 million square kilometres.
And how many people?
About 55,000 voters.
55,000 voters on the
And there's
huge
usually about
land.
400 kilometres between each of them.
Okay. That makes it exciting, I assume. But you got some background in real life, not just politics, with the Outback and with Western Australia, as I know from your previous experience.
I started off in 1974, 75.
Yes.
Working out in the desert for about 8-10 years on remote Aboriginal communities. In those days, we were meeting people for the first time, or they were meeting us for the first time. So it was a lot of learning on both parts, part of the Aboriginal people, who we were. And we weren't these white ghosts. And the same thing, we had to learn very much about their culture. And if you didn't learn about the culture, you were left behind. So I was very privileged in that sense of working with people who were coming out of the desert in the 70s.
Some of the people on the streets still say the Aboriginals not have culture.
Oh, look, I would suggest that most probably we're the people who don't have any culture, quite honestly.
That's another matter, yes.
But
so before we go into the,
Robin,
before we go into the Aboriginals and the culture and the understanding and our relationship, which is still not been solved, I think, that's my opinion anyway, let's talk about the landowners and the borrowers of land, which are mainly the big multinational or local industries like gas, oil, mining, and their positions drive the economy that they see. However, we just know from the recent Senate hearings from the federal government, not everything is hunky-dory with their actions, especially the tax avoidance. As not just the American company, Chevron and the others doing it, but our own or the British companies as well. So what do you think, how does it happening and why, because everyone knows it long time, why don't we can channel those it lost $80 billion per year almost. Why couldn't we just get, you know, to the end of that?
I think there is almost a fear in
Yeah.
Australian politics that if we upset the big miners, they will go away. And so we acquiesce. We complain about it a lot.
Yes.
But when it actually comes to
action?
the Australian Taxation Office or anything else being able to be given the powers by government to actually do something, we do a lot of talking, but we never actually do anything directly. Now, you're dead right. You've got many major corporations, multinationals, and there are many easy ways to legitimately scam the fact that you don't need to pay the taxes you're supposed to be paid. Now, Western Australian government, around about $40 billion in debt, running a $4.5 billion deficit, and yet we've got 7.5% royalties coming out of the mining industry all the time. But we don't manage our money particularly well.
No.
Go to somewhere like Norway or Saudi Arabia, they basically say, if you're going to come to our country, you're going to pay us, excuse the expression, a shitload of money, and we're going to put it in a future fund. You've got...
so we're looking after ourselves.
Yeah.
That's what they say, because that's
right.
what we need. If we're giving something, we need something back on a sustainable economical level.
That's correct.
Even the Americans do better taxing on their own companies than we do in here on those gas and oil companies, and the Canadians.
Yeah.
So what's wrong with us? It's not just something we don't know what's the law in Hong Kong or what's the law in, you know, Singapore.
I just think it's that we've operated in this sort of, this political vacuum, which has sort of said, well, we need the miners because we don't have anything else. We've got to get them to mine and we'll make money out of it. But we really have never put on the impost to generate the income. You look at Norway again, about 900 billion in a sovereign wealth fund. We don't have one.
At all.
At all. And then you actually
That's
look...
something which we can be the first.
That's right.
In the developed
we
world.
look at how we rate around the world in terms of a mineral-based economy. We rate 107th in the world for money management. And yet we've got it all.
That's telling the story, is it?
Absolutely.
So you think this is because of the politicians or because of a combination of the bureaucrats and politics and what?
I actually think in this particular instance, a lot of cases I think it's about bureaucrats, but in this particular instance, I think it's about politicians who are afraid of rocking the boat. We have some of the best iron ore in the world. We're one of the major countries in the world that produces LNG, liquefied natural gas.
Absolutely.
And yet we put no premium on it. If it was anywhere else in the world...
I have to say, sorry on that note, Robin, yes, they put premium on us because 1 kilo juice in here is $20.
Oh, yeah.
And in the USA, it's only 3. You see, at home, you have to know we're paying $20 for the same kilo juice of gas, like the Americans paying $3. Not because they got more gas as we, because we got much more than them, but these other American companies who are selling the gas for us, they're making extra profit on us again.
Oh, that's right. Because
so how could it be? I mean, why don't the people on the street and marching and saying, nah, stop that today, because tomorrow you go out from bloody parliament and you couldn't do anything more. So where is the consciousness of this nation?
One of the problems we've got in Western Australia, in my view, is that we're the only state really who has what we call state agreement acts. These are an act of parliament between a mining corporation or a major industry and the government. And it sets a set of terms and conditions which, once it's signed off, can only be amended by both parties by mutual agreement. Now, when we actually set up the original agreements, way back when, in the 70s and 80s, we needed some gas, and we set a price on that gas, and the multinationals wanted to sell the gas. And so there was a deal around about that time that we would pay more for domestic gas than the gas that's sold offshore. So the same gas that goes on the ships is cheaper than what we pay for it. And that's inherently enshrined in those state agreement acts. Recently, we obviously saw Brendan Grills trying to amend the royalty provisions. Now, interesting enough, I didn't support him in that because
Why was that?
it couldn't happen. It could never happen because it's a state agreement act. You cannot change a state agreement act. You'd be in the courts for the next 20 years with corporations that have got more money in their pockets than we've got in our deficit. So, you know,
so we trapped ourselves nicely.
Yeah, a long time ago.
A long time
now, we
ago.
shouldn't be doing state agreement acts. We should be allowing corporations to operate in our state on the conditions that we impose from time to time, not that are imposed by the corporations.
So you think this whole fight against these corporations and managing to get, you know, even the price for 1 kilo juice for $3.50, it's absolutely hopeless.
Look, at a federal level, you can do it. Because when you've got a state agreement act, it's an agreement between the state and the corporations. But there is no agreement between the big mining corporations or the big gas corporations and the federal.
So they can overrule the state agreement?
Absolutely, not a problem.
Without court case?
Yep, they could increase the taxation as we had it. Remember, we had a price on carbon.
For a while.
For a while, for a very short while. But
as a probation.
Yeah, but we had it. And we could implement it. The federal government can do that.
So the hope is need to be federal, not local.
Yeah, federal
so
taxation regime.
Ourselves, so we have to somehow influence the federal government to make changes.
Yeah.
On that note, we have to go to a short break, but we're coming back and we continue our discussion on very interesting topics, I hope, with Robin Chappell.